I mean, she's probably really busy, right? Like, what does she actually do all day? And I mean that seriously, not rhetorically, but what does her day actually consist of? I think we're all trying to figure that out. What is up? My name is Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back. This, of course, is the epicenter for all of your current and captivating coastal elite chaos. So please hit that subscribe button, like the video, ring the notification bell, leave a comment or two, share this with a friend. Let's go. Well, there is lots to talk about. As per usual, the border. We are on the cusp of CW2, inflation, reproductive health care, which is the current rallying cry of the regime. There's also a lot concerning New York City, where migrants are all the rage right now, and I just love those little guys. There's been several reports of them complaining and protesting and even stabbing each other, but any mention of that is just bigotry. They deserve the world. I mean, we owe that to them. It doesn't matter that the cost of living in Manhattan is through the roof. The average rent price is $5,600, but that is a different story. There's also San Francisco with loads of junkies, needles, human feces, but that's okay because Mayor London Breed, who of course paid nearly $23,000 in ethics violations fines, she says crime is going down. So it's all good. But Oakland has sort of leapfrogged all of that with just one story. And I mean, there's actually plenty of stories. It's nonstop, but the In-N-Out closure was huge. And, you know, growing up in Oakland, I don't think it was ever this bad, but I don't know, maybe it was. I was young and I just didn't know any better. I mean, I was robbed one time. Our house was broken into. Then I almost got robbed a second time, but I literally just ignored them and they went away. I also got robbed once in San Francisco, all many years ago. But either way, it is crystal clear now that something needs to change. So the In-N-Out closure, which should be pretty jarring for everybody, it was a profitable location, but for that business, it still just was not worth it. And there's this area that I guess we're now calling the crime corridor near the airport where the In-N-Out was, or I guess where it is for a couple more days. There's also multiple other businesses, Starbucks, Walmart, Home Depot, Subway, they're all gone. There's a few left, Panda Express and Wingstop. They also recently got a Raising Cane's, but they immediately went to drive-thru only because people's cars were getting broken into. There's also a Round Table that is apparently planning to open in that complex, but the news reported the owner of that business had no idea about the crime before choosing that location.
There are some new businesses coming into this shopping center. The building where that for lease sign is, that's going to be a Round Table Pizza. We talked with one of the owners and he said when they selected this location, they had no idea about the crime problems, and now they have no idea what they're going to do.
So that's his fault. Not sure how he let that get by him before he presumably dumped thousands of dollars into a franchise business. But the crime corridor is a busy area near the airport and the sports arena, formerly known as the Coliseum, and we'll just say it is rife with crime. And there's a publication, a propaganda publication called Oakland Side, and they wrote an article titled "Crime Near the Airport is Terrible," and that's not unique to Oakland. So it is an incredibly long story. They try to sugarcoat it, but they just can't, at least not without blatantly lying. Real 1984 Joy Orwell Reed type of stuff. Don't believe your lying eyes, they say, and a little bit more on Joy Reid and her new Trump wig at a later date. But in this article, they say, quote, 2023 was a bad year for crime in Oakland. Compared to 2022, the city saw a 23% increase in burglaries, a 45% increase in vehicle thefts, and a 38% uptick in robberies. Homicides and shootings didn't really increase from 2022 to 2023, but this isn't good news given that both increased starting in early 2020. But they also say The data for criminal activity around the Oakland airport is spotty for reasons we'll get into in a moment. However, available data suggests that the commercial corridors to the airport have been a magnet for crime for years. So, which is it? You have the statistics right there that by your own admission show an increase in crime, but also criminal activity data is spotty. And also, the area has been a crime magnet for years, so alright, bro. I mean, they do eventually get around to explaining it, saying that the neighborhoods or the police beats changed or something like that, so that makes it tough to get data. It's all a complete mess. They know it, you know it, I know it, we all know it. And the thing is, I don't believe anyone is actually engaged. It's only the criminals and politicians, but I repeat myself, they are taking advantage, and there's maybe some weirdo green hair hipsters in West Oakland who refuse to admit there's a problem. There's actually, right now, as we speak, an organization called the Anti-Police Terror Project trying to defund the OPD even further. And just as an aside, these aren't anti-police terror project people, but I've actually had people tell me that, oh, the police narrative is crazy, man. It's not that bad. You just shouldn't leave anything in your car, which, of course, is fair. Don't leave stuff in the front seat of your car, but that's how low the bar is. They're basically victim blaming, which we know is unacceptable in most other circumstances, right? Like, what does it matter what she was wearing? They certainly wouldn't blame the victim in that case, and I'm not saying you should, but there is clearly a double standard, and as we know, if it weren't for double standards, there would be no standards at all. But even in those dark, violent cases, they wouldn't even advocate for punishing the criminals. They would, however, advocate for ending the life of any products of that crime, but I digress. There's also the, old, white, you are seen, soft bigotry of low expectation BLM types, but I'm getting a little bit off track here. There are some people who are working for change, and we'll get there, but this particular article is nonsensical. They know most people will not read the whole thing, so they put in the title of it, this is not unique to Oakland, and then they say, okay, well, it's really bad in Baltimore and Philadelphia too. So let's be clear, as they like to say, there is no shortage of these types of stories, and heaven forbid you open the Citizen app in Oakland, but between ceasefire calls, I guess, KTVU Fox 2 News reported Kaiser directs employees to stay in Oakland headquarters for lunch over crime concerns. And what's crazy about this is that in the tweet linking to the article, the original tweet, before it was a story picked up by several other outlets, the reporter said, downtown Oakland employees to stay inside for work and lunch and to bring food or have it delivered. Okay, so I guess just let the delivery drivers take the risk, even though it could be argued that the delivery job in Oakland is far more dangerous than the Kaiser job, but whatever. And naturally, some of the local restaurateurs, the business owners are like, what the hell, man? What are you guys doing? You're telling people not to come patronize our business? It's a complete mess, to put it nicely. And then, straight from the Oakland Police Department, here are some tips to stay safe. You can replace property. I mean, they're spoken like a real we rob and steal for reparations type of protester. And on their Instagram, it was a little bit different. They say to provide photos. Like, bruh, if I'm a victim, if I'm calling you guys, they likely stole the phone, or I guess even camera, right? You can ask several news outlets about that. And what does it matter anyways? 911 doesn't even work. From KTVU, Fox 2 News, Oakland residents resort to calling fire department over 911 during medical emergencies. From ABC 7 News, some Oakland residents are waiting 20 minutes or longer to reach 911 operators. So it looks like to me that is a minimum of 20 minutes, right? 20 minutes or longer, which of course is why they are hiring. And I'm sure plenty of people will be applying, or should I say plenty more people will be applying, because hundreds of applications for Oakland police dispatchers were ignored. So How did that happen? Oh, oops. Oh, we dropped the ball. It's ridiculous. I mean, they even say in the post, join us in supporting the 30 by 30 initiative to recruit and retain women in law enforcement, as it is crucial to create a more inclusive and effective police force. Prioritizing gender equity and diversity strengthens our community. Be the difference. And then they give you a number for you to text. So we've seen just how far progressive policies and DEI has gotten us. But I guess this makes sense because they should be taking anybody they can get right now. But are we really to believe that prioritizing gender equality, those type of people, are going to keep Oakland safe? Give me a break. The Oakland thugs are going to run roughshod over those people. And on top of that, there's still no Oakland police chief, again from KTVU. Federal judge concerned with how long it's taking to hire new Oakland police chief, because apparently Mayor Shang Tao fired the last chief of police because he failed to address officer misconduct or something like that. I mean, it's ridiculous because we know misconduct could mean almost anything, right? One joke doesn't land. That's misconduct. Boom. He's out of here, just like In-N-Out. But all jokes aside, the mayor fired the former chief based on a report by a federal monitor, which maybe a more conspiratorial-minded person might say is literally the federal government trying to destroy the police on purpose, but I don't know. And that judge issued a scathing report claiming that the chief signed off on some documents without reviewing them. He denied any and all wrongdoing, then claimed vindication, and she, the mayor that is, denied firing the chief of police because of the report, but said she fired him because of a cover-up of a hit and run involving an officer. But it doesn't matter. He's gone, no replacement, and he's also black, so the NAACP stepped in, as they tend to do. See SF Mayor Breed, and Asian business owner / rapper, but that's a different story. In this case, the NAACP was not able to save him. And while that's all happening, an officer was taken out, right, by some thugs trying to rob a weed dispensary, as if weed isn't quite literally the only thing that's gotten cheaper over the last few years. And I think there's a reason for that, but we'll save it for another day. So, as you can see, it's all bad. And this takes work. You have to work to destroy an entire city in this fashion. And like I always say, they're doing this on purpose. I believe these are the forces of evil. This is not simply clumsy, incompetent politicians. Now, there's probably a little bit of that, but there is something larger at work here. And beyond the crime and policing issues, the place is quite literally a dump. You know, Keith Lee called it. There's trash and tents and burnt out cars everywhere. And here's just a little bit of my own footage. And even while driving through nice areas, looking for the beautiful parts of Oakland, up in the hills, trying to get a complete picture of the place I grew up, there's still piles of trash. So you have to ask, who the hell is dumping trash in the Oakland Hills? It's one thing to see broken down RVs and tents and trash in a more, gritty part of town. But who is dumping trash near the multi-million-dollar homes in the hills? Is it rich people? Or is somebody driving up just to dump? Who knows what's happening? And right now, Mayor Shang Tao is the brains behind all of it. Way back in 2022, when she was running for mayor, she said she was given the incorrect filing date for my filing and had to turn in my required paperwork at the last minute in order to qualify. So she played the victim card a little bit way back then. She still managed to get into office and claims to be one of the Bay Area's boldest, most effective progressive leaders, and we all see where that's gotten us. Her website is littered with buzzwords like barrier breaking, poverty, justice, immigration. Remember, she claims she stood up to ICE, I guess, to protect the illegals from the big bad orange man when she was on the city council. But perhaps most notably, she is endorsed by Planned Parenthood because these people are absolutely demonic and hell-bent on destruction for profit. So after she dropped the ball on her initial paperwork, still managed to get elected, her car was broken into outside of the legendary Grand Lake Theater because she is not fully immune to the insanity, but it is a small price to pay. Ask San Francisco Mayor Breed about small prices to pay. Anyways, then she somehow missed the deadline to apply for a federal grant that would have allotted her and the city of Oakland millions of dollars to combat retail theft because, again, that's just how low the bar has gotten. And naturally, she blamed the police for that. And when that happened, she took a few friendly interviews with local outlets where she served up word salad and dodged questions and pointed the finger.
Mayor Sheng Tao was asked about the city missing the deadline following a Port of Oakland event today.
I'm infuriated and frustrated that, city staff have missed their deadline. But to assume and put out false information that somehow we didn't want to apply for it, that's utter BS. We are putting in parameters so that something like this never happens again.
But maybe, hopefully, this is now starting to catch up with her. We haven't seen too much of her, right? After the Kaiser warning to employees, the mayor sent a statement to KTVU Fox 2 News saying, Kaiser is a valued employer and partner in addressing community safety. Oakland is making progress in addressing our community safety in our business districts, where many of Kaiser's facilities are located. What is just word salad at its very best. She says they're making progress, but they are quite literally doing the opposite. But on the plus side, most people are not buying this because, I don't know, they live and they breathe. So she couldn't be bothered to make an appearance. I mean, she's probably really busy, right? Like, what does she actually do all day? And I mean that seriously, not rhetorically, but what does her day actually consist of? I think we're all trying to figure that out right now, because from what I can tell on her Twitter, she takes a few fake photo ops with some likely paid supporters because every single one of the posts have dozens of comments calling her out. There is no real support, only blind allegiance and aggressive opposition, which is why people are trying to recall her. But of course, in true Shang Tao fashion, she failed to respond to the petition to recall her. Her Instagram is completely dry. Nobody likes her. Hundreds of posts, dozens of comments, not one in support. She couldn't even be bothered to pay the photo op participants to drop a positive comment for her. And then from the Oakland subreddit, what is Shang Tao doing? Oakland has sadly been in the news cycle lately. If you just Google news, the word Oakland, you get all in the last handful of days, In-N-Out's first closure ever, dudes dragging ATMs out of banks down Hagenberger, bonsai trees being stolen from a public garden, snail bar being charged money by the city for being robbed, and of course, multiple shootings and murders. It goes on. My question is, what exactly is going on with the government? Shouldn't Shang Tao be front and center, making public appearances, posting on Twitter, publishing press releases, working with the police department and DA, and generally doing anything she can to counter this? Over in San Francisco, at least Mayor Breed negotiated with Safeway and Fillmore to get them to stay another year. Shouldn't Shang be calling the CEO of In-N-Out and figuring what she can do to get them to stay? Maybe she is. Maybe I'm mistaken. I just don't understand what's going on. Does anybody in our government care? Well, that's all good. Those are all good points. Good question. And yes, they do care. And that's why they have done this purposely. And here's another good one from the Oakland subreddit. Is there anywhere to report a stolen car that would let the owner know without relying on OPD? He says, my neighbor regularly steals cars and I have called OPD about it a few times when a new one shows up, but no one ever comes out. One time, the stolen car was a contractor's truck with the guy's logo, so I was able to look up the contractor and call him directly. So he came, and then the cops came about 40 minutes later, and he got his truck back. I basically want to be able to do the same thing for all these other stolen cars. Where can I let the owner know they can come, forcing OPD to come so the person gets their car back faster and ideally less damage? Is there a website or app for this? Snap a shot, input some metadata. If you can get it, maybe even use AI to generate some of this metadata, then the owner can get an alert for a saved search or something. So, I don't know. I'm not a tech IT guy, but the bar is so low that this guy is admitting he lives near a car thief, and that's not even the problem. He just wants to help people get their cars back, which, is respectable, but he's just living next to a car thief and dealing with it like it's normal. Update. As I am putting together the video you're watching right now, like a gift from above, this story falls into my lap from KTVU Fox 2 News. Oakland criminal justice advocate and ACLU lawyer caught in gun crossfire. So what they don't mention in that headline is that this woman's house was littered with stray bullets, and I will have no choice but to do a more detailed video highlighting just how sinister this story is outside of the fact that it happened in Oakland and their connection to the ACLU. There's levels to this madness. But not only was this woman's house sprayed with stray bullets, but also her best friend in Oakland was caught in gun crossfire too, somehow. And on top of all that, of course, she stands by her progressive ideology, and that's why this is a story in the first place. More on that later. But they also say there is no hard evidence that neither progressive nor tough on crime policies have any effect on crime rates. Now, I would beg to differ, but more on that later. Now, if I wanted to be nice, I'd say she is an incompetent, airhead progressive who didn't really know what she was getting into, and the job was just a little bit too much for her. But if I wanted to keep it a whole stack, I would say she is an evil, lying, corrupt politician working with the state and the federal regime to destroy Oakland to the benefit of herself and the machine. I mean, all of these things are probably true and not mutually exclusive, and still very nice of me when considering what she's actually done to Oakland. So hopefully this is rock bottom. Maybe it takes a guy like Richie Rich, who is from Oakland. He made his name on the back of Oakland, and now he's calling the city out. Maybe it takes a guy from the outside with millions of followers like Keith Lee to come in and say, damn, bitch, you live like this? Maybe it will take a guy like Stephen A. Smith to go on TV and say, we've gone too far when it gets too dangerous to get a hamburger or a cheeseburger, he says. Maybe it takes an independent journalist like Seneca Scott to apply nonstop pressure and let her know that we all see it. Maybe it takes a shock to the system like a profitable, world-renowned burger chain to leave for people to say, all right, we've had just about enough. But I don't know. Having said all that, here's a funny clip.
Valley Traditional High School is in the middle of a racial controversy right now. A teacher used the N-word towards a student. The word is only 6 letters long, but the impact is far-reaching. And we do want to warn you that some of the language in this story is strong, and it may offend you, it may offend some other people. But since the story is not just about the N-word, it's also about the teacher's intent and definition of the word, we have decided to leave it in the story for you to decide.
And what did he say specifically to you?
Sit down, nigga.
Keyshawn Chambers is a freshman at Valley High School, a Boy Scout, a football player, a member of the ROTC, an honor roll student. He was hanging around his teacher's classroom door in December. The teacher told him to sit down, and the teacher says that Keyshawn used the N-word first.
And I just kind of was stunned a second. Well, then get away from the door, nigga. And I repeated the same insult because that's sort of what I've been trained to do.
The school district says that is not what they trained English teacher Paul Dawson to do.
He tried to say I said it, and I didn't say it, and no one else in the class knows that I said it because I didn't.
Documents from the school investigation show that several of the students interviewed from Valley did not hear Keyshawn say the N-word first. Dawson says that students use the slang version of the N-word at Valley High School all the time. He says N-I-G-G-E-R is a racial slur, but says that students use N-I-G-G-A as often as they'd say dude or hey man. And Dawson says as much as he does not like the word, he still used the slang version to feel more comfortable with black students.
Why is this word used so frequently? I just don't understand it, and I'm trying to understand it. I need help. Yes, I use nigga. I've used it. I admit it. I put the H on it to emphasize it's nigga. That, you know, nigga this, nigga please, nigga. Can you lend a nigga a pencil?